everyone. We're going to give it a few seconds to let everyone flow in, and then we will begin. Hello and welcome to our City of Fullerton Small Business Emergency Grant Program. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars are recorded and sent to all attendees after the webinar has concluded, along with a copy of the slides. There will be Q&A at the end of the presentation today, but please feel free to ask questions during the webinar by clicking on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. We may not get to everyone's questions, but we will do our best. If we don't get to your questions, please call 800-616-7232. We will also put this number in the chat box. Over to you, Mike.
Perfect, thank you. We're actually going to start with Manal Richa, but my name is Mike Daniel. I work with the Small Business Development Center at Cal State Fullerton. And so we're going to walk you through this program and make sure that everybody understands the eligibility requirements, the criteria, and the documentation you would need if you qualified. But first, I'm going to have Manal Richa, our director for the Cal State Fullerton Sbdc, kick it off with going through the first part of this.
Thank you so much, Mike. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Fullerton Small Business Emergency Grant Program. As Mike mentioned, the first few minutes of this webinar, we're going to walk you through the program requirements, eligibility, and steps, so you are getting prepared. And then as we wrap up, we're going to take the rest of the time to answer your questions. So as mentioned by Hannah, please make sure that you use the Q&A box to submit your questions, and we will do our best to answer all of them. So today we're discussing the Small Business Emergency Assistance Program through the City of Fullerton, supported with funding by Supervisor Doug Chafee. You can apply for up to $10,000 grants. The city will be allocating about $1.16 million in, $1,160,000 in funds available. The two dates that you need to pay attention to is when the application opens and when the application closes. This is one of two webinars that we are holding. Tomorrow we're holding the same webinar, but in Spanish. The application is not going to open and won't be available on the city's website until Wednesday, August 5th at 9 a.m. And it will be open all the way until the following week, Friday, August 14, 5 p.m. The reason I'm encouraging you to make notes of those dates is because if you miss the application period, late applications will not be accepted. And I would like to note also that this process is not first come, first serve. So please take your time getting ready as you are completing the application and you're filling it out to avoid any mistakes. And we're going to talk to you through this in the next few minutes as well. So in order for you to qualify to apply for this program, you must be a for-profit business or non-profit organizations as well do qualify to apply as long as you are physically located in the City of Fullerton. Unfortunately, residential and real estate projects, including short-term rental operators, are not eligible to apply to this program. And as a business, you must have an active Fullerton business license for a minimum of 6 months. So let's talk more through the terms and conditions of this program. One of the other qualifiers for you to be eligible to apply, as of July 28, 2020, meaning as of a few days ago, you must have had any combination of a total of 25 employees or less in a full-time or full-time equivalent capacity, including the owner of the business. So no more than 25 employees, full-time or full-time equivalent. And let me explain what that means. One full-time employee is any employee that commits a minimum of 40 hours per week and more to your business. If an employee spends 39.9 hours and less, then that would be classified as a part-time employee, and 2 part-time employees would be equal to 1 full-time employee. So if currently you are the business owner and you have 2 employees who spend less than 40 hours per week on the business, the calculation would be 1 full-time for you as the business owner, and for your 2 part-time employees would be 0.5 plus 0.5, putting you at another 1 full-time for a total of 2 full-time employees. As a business, you need to be in good standing with the city, meaning you are current on your bills, your business license didn't lapse, and you don't have any liens or judgments on your business. And part of the process, you need to certify that you did not receive funding from the previous City of Fullerton Small Business Emergency Loan Program or the County of Orange Grant Program. Unfortunately, if you were funded through both of these programs or through one of them, then you won't be eligible to apply for this specific program. Part of your online application process, you also need to disclose whether you have received funding through the Paycheck Protection Program or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Now, the good news is, even if you receive those funds, that is not a disqualifier. You still qualify and you are still eligible to apply. You just need to certify and disclose whether or not you received those funds. And we're going to explain in a few minutes the importance of why you need to do that. You need to complete the application online once it opens starting Wednesday, August 5th. And as a follow-up to the application, once you are selected, you would need to submit additional documents that we're going to walk you through in a few minutes. And a part of this whole thing is you need to show proof of financial hardship that could have caused business interruption due to COVID-19. And there are multiple ways for you to show that, and I'm going to walk you through it. Now, the city is going to allocate 80% of the funds for for-profit businesses, and 20% of the funds will be allocated to nonprofit organizations. If there are not enough nonprofit organizations that qualify and are eligible to receive funding, then the remainder of that 20% will be allocated for additional funding for the for-profit businesses. And as mentioned, although you are qualified to apply if you received EIDL and PPP, yet priority will be given to those businesses that have not received those funds. It doesn't mean you disqualify. It just simply means that there will be 2 priority groups, and the first priority group will be the one that did not receive EIDL or PPP. Now, the first qualifier is self-certifying that you were affected by COVID-19. And you need to choose only one of the following 4 qualifiers that you see on the screen. You don't have to check the boxes on all of them. Only one would suffice. First, your business must have been deemed non-essential and you were forced to shut down by the state or the local government. Meaning if you were probably a nail salon or a hair salon, you didn't have an option. You had to close your doors no matter what. Some restaurants also, you weren't given the choice and you weren't able to operate. And other businesses, I don't mean to exclude any businesses. If your business was deemed non-essential and you had to close doors due to state and local government requirements, then you definitely meet this specific qualifier of must be affected by COVID-19. If that's not the case, if your business stayed open in any capacity, then the other qualifier you might choose could be related to your revenue. If revenues from the business are down more than 25% for the quarter ending June 30, 2020, compared to a prior comparable quarter, then you check the box on this specific requirement. So basically what you need to look at is your revenue for April, May, and June 2020. And if your revenue shows a decrease of more than 25% compared to January, February, and March, then you are good to go in terms of checking the box that you were affected by COVID-19. If none of the above applies to your business, the 2 qualifiers that we just talked about, then it could be that your business had to lay off at least one of its employees, regardless if it's full-time or part-time since March 1st, 2020, then that would be a qualifier. Or if you had to experience the unfortunate circumstances where one or more of your employees in the business have contracted COVID-19 while at work, then this would qualify for the must be affected by COVID-19. And as a reminder, you don't need to check all 4 boxes on this specific qualifier. Only one of the following ways that we discussed would be enough for you to meet this specific requirement. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to my regional director, Mike.
Perfect. Thanks, Manal. So I'm going to go through what the grant can be used for. So it can be used for rent or mortgage expense, your utilities, your inventory, personal protection equipment, or other operational expenses within your business. You'll fill this out on the application. So you'll kind of break down that $10,000 into different buckets. And so that's what you're going to self-certify. These are the areas I'm going to spend my money in. And so you can use it for any one of these categories, and other operational expenses can be very open. You know, it could be accounts payable, things that you still owe for, you know, things like that. So, okay, next slide. Ineligible expenses are damages covered by insurance, payroll or benefits expenses for employees who have not been substantially affected by COVID-19, and expenses that have been or will be reimbursed under any federal program, such as the reimbursement by the federal government pursuant to the CARES Act of contributions by states to state unemployment funds. So basically what it's saying is that if there's other benefits coming from the state or federal government, that you can't double dip into the same things. And so those you can't pay for. So, okay, next slide. Reimbursement to donors for donated items or services, workforce bonuses other than hazard pay or overtime, severance pay, and for legal settlements, you cannot use this money for. Okay, and then where and when to apply. So you can go to the city's website, so www.cityoffullerton.com. The application period will open at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, August 5th. It is an online portal, and that is the only way to apply for this grant. And you will not see it until Wednesday, August 5th, or this Wednesday at 9 o'clock. And then it will close the following Friday, August 14th at 5 p.m. So you have that whole time, and it is not a first come, first serve. So don't feel like you have to be the first one in to get this done. You can take the full, I mean, it's basically a week and a half, you know, take your time, do it right, because what happens is, you know, if you happen to put the wrong thing, it's going to exclude you from it. So just make sure that you're putting in the right pieces here. So, okay, next slide. So what's next? So if the number of applicants exceeds the amount of funding available, it will go to what's called a lottery system. And so it's going to be broken down into two parts. So there'll be two priority groups. So the first priority group will be those businesses that have not received any federal disaster funding, such as EIDL or PPP or EIDL Advance. So they're going to be placed into group one. And then once they've gone through all those, if there's still money remaining, then it will go into funding priority group 2. And that will be for everybody else that received some form of federal disaster funding or all of the above. And so that's really how it's going to be broken down. And there's, as Manal had stated, 116 grants. And so roughly 91 for-profit and 25 nonprofit. If there's not 25 nonprofits that are eligible and qualify, then those portion of the 25 that aren't eligible will move into the for-profit side. So not a tremendous amount of grants. And so I know that Fullerton just had one that came out of Supervisor Chafee's office. So if you did receive that, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to receive this grant. But I did see a question earlier, and just so I can address it now, somebody had asked if they had another business in La Palma, and then they also have a business in Fullerton, could they get both of these grants? And so as long as they're for different EIN numbers and in different cities, absolutely, you would qualify for it. So, okay. So what's next? So selected businesses will be notified beginning August 24th, and that's right after the lottery system on the 21st or 22nd. And then selected businesses will be asked to submit all the required financial documentation for review and verification by September 4th. So if you are selected, if there is a lottery and you're selected, these are the 3 things that you are going to need to provide after the fact. So not in the initial application, but it comes after. So your bank statements for the quarter ending June 30th, so April, May, and June, bank statements and the full bank statement, a current City of Fullerton business license, and then an impact statement and self-certification of how you've been impacted by COVID-19. So again, it's those 4 qualifiers. Your business is down 25% or more. You've been deemed non-essential and forced to shut down. You've had to lay off or furlough an employee, or a worker or yourself contracted COVID-19 while at work. So those are the 4 ways. And so you just write a simple letter on your letterhead and sign it and date it. So those are the 3 documents that would be needed. And for the first one, it's really 3 different documents, but it's bank statements for April, May, and June in your business name. So, okay. And then upon pre-approval and selection, the OC, i.e. Sbdc, will request of the applicant all required documentation. You will receive a consultant to work with you through this. And then all required documentation must be submitted 2 weeks after you've been told whether you've been awarded the grant. So you have 2 weeks to get us all the documentation, and we have a system that is completely safe. And so you can upload it right into that. We'll vet it, verify it, send it to the city. They'll vet it and verify it. And then hopefully you get paid very quickly. So after that, the Sbdc will continue to work with you one-on-one. There's no cost to you for that through the next 12 weeks. And then you will be asked to update your status with the city. And so they'll ask you questions like, if you've hired another employee, are you still in business? Have you expanded your sales? What have you done with this additional funding? So, okay, so contact information. So the city of Fullerton through the Community and Economic Development Department, and there is their information right there. Or Manal, who's on this call as well, you can reach out directly to her. But those are really the next steps. And so let me just kind of summarize everything that you've just heard, and then we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Small Business Emergency Assistance Grant. And so it is a grant supported with funding by Supervisor Doug Chafee. And so this is only for businesses located within the city of Fullerton. And they're $10,000 grants. You can choose not to take the full $10,000, but it is for $10,000. So I'm not sure why you would want to take less, but you do have that option. But you do have the ability, and there's no difference, whether you take 5,000 or 10, it's all what you ask for. So my suggestion would be to ask for all 10,000. Your business must have been affected by COVID-19. The application process opens this Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and it closes at 5 p.m. the following Friday. So it is not a first come, first serve. So take your time, do it correct. There's not a lot of questions. It shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to fill this out. There's only an online portal. There is no paper application, so you will need to do this online. You could do it via your phone. You could do it via your computer. There's a lot of different ways to do this. So if you are selected, then you will have those 3 additional documents to turn in. And for more information, here's the city site to go directly to. So with that, I think we can go to answering some of these questions that you guys might have, if you have any. I know I did an amazing job, but I'm sure there's always questions on here for Manal and myself. So I'll read the questions to Manal, and then we can do it together. Does that work, Manal?
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect. So the first question is, I'm also applying for the City of La Palma grant. Does that mean I can't apply for Fullerton? I have businesses in both cities.
And I think, Mike, you did respond to this question a few minutes ago. As long as you have 2 separate EINs for the businesses, there shouldn't be a conflict. We would encourage you to apply.
Okay. My Fullerton business license expired in April 2020, and I haven't been able to renew. Will I qualify?
I guess this decision will be up to the city once come the time for us to collect the documents. I would encourage you to renew your business license as soon as possible. You shouldn't be operating within a city limit without an active business license. And I think we can always address this on a case-by-case basis with the city. Mike, do you have any feedback on this?
Yeah, and you can definitely contact the number on there to ask them, because it looks like you asked a follow-up question, which they told you not to. My suggestion would be to get one anyways, but I don't want to make you get one because of this grant. So I would definitely call them and tell them, ask them what you should do. That'd probably be my suggestion to you.
Yeah, I missed a follow-up question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This question is for you. As a nonprofit, we didn't have the need to apply for Fullerton business license. Do we not qualify?
So let me find out from the city. If they don't collect business licenses for nonprofits, then I don't see it as being a problem. But I don't know that they've weighed in on that one yet. So.
What if revenue was not affected, but net income was?
Yeah, that could be fine. Ultimately what we're looking for is, has your business been affected by 25% or more? That's one of the qualifiers. Or you could have been shut down, or you could have laid somebody off. There's a lot of different ways to qualify for that one. But yeah, ultimately, if your net income has been changed by more than 25%, that could qualify as well.
Can you treat an independent contractor as an employee?
So no, you cannot. W-2 employees are the only ones that count as employees. Independent contractors have the ability to apply for this grant on their own.
So I have applied for an SBA loan and have been granted the funds which were deposited into my business checking account. Will this disqualify me from the grant? James, absolutely not. As mentioned, even if you received funds from the SBA EIDL program or the PPP, you still qualify to apply, and we would encourage you to apply. The only thing is there might be, priority group 1 versus priority group 2, where priority group 1 would be the group that did not receive any funding whatsoever from the SBA, for example, and then your business would still be eligible depending on the fund allocation, but we would definitely encourage you to apply.
Perfect. Another question, Manal. If I'm an owner with no W-2 employees, can I apply?
Absolutely, because you basically are the owner of the business. There's no minimum requirement in terms of the number of employees for this specific program, but there is a maximum requirement, which is the 25 full-time or full-time equivalent employee.
Okay. Is this a different grant from the Sbdc grant a couple months ago? So yes, it is. The program a couple months ago was for up to $25,000, and that was a loan that could turn into a grant if you met the qualifiers. So this is a $10,000 grant, just straightforward and to the point. You cannot have both. So if you did qualify for both, you'd have to choose one over the other, but they are two different programs. Okay. My husband, the business owner, is getting PUA. Could he apply for this grant?
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead and apply. This won't be a disqualifier.
Okay. I received a very small economic injury disaster loan, but not PPP. Will I be in the first group or second group?
Chances are you will be in the second group, because the first group would be for those businesses that have not received any funds in any shape or form.
Okay, perfect. I have a business that has several business licenses. We do business in several cities in Orange County. We have applied in Costa Mesa, but have not heard about whether we have been approved. Can we apply for the same business as Costa Mesa if we do not know whether we will get the Costa Mesa grant? We would definitely disclose if we hear back from Costa Mesa after we apply here.
I guess we would encourage you to apply, and the fact that, once you receive, and if you receive funds through the city of Costa Mesa, disclosing that. I don't know, Mike, do we need to circle back with the city on this one?
No. So I would definitely apply. These are two different buckets from two different supervisors. If you have this, if it's the same business, we can definitely talk about it. And I definitely know where you're at in the city of Costa Mesa, so we can talk after too, because that would hopefully be good news for you as well. But yeah, let's chat. I mean, if you're doing business in two different cities and you have different business licenses, it doesn't preclude you from it. So I would definitely apply, and then we could talk about it after. And then any limit for gross annual revenue. So you cannot do more than $15 million a year in sales as a 3-year average, right? So if you took 18, 19, and we won't take 20, let's just take 18 and 19. And that average, if it's more than $15 million, that would kick you out of this grant program. So there's a maximum of $15 million per year.
And Mike, I think that's it. So you do have the contact information. One more. Can you apply through the Main Street launch site?
So this is a different program. So this program is specifically for the city of Fullerton. So if you applied to the Main Street launch site, that was directly to the supervisor. This is going directly to the city. The city was also allocated dollars that are different from the supervisors. But if you did receive money from the Main Street launch site or from the supervisor, you cannot get both, because it is the same program, just two different ways of going about it.
And here's a screen where you have the city's website, but as mentioned, the application won't be available and won't open until Wednesday, August 5th in the morning at 9 a.m. So you can go to the website right now and hopefully be able to, find additional information, or you can reach out to the city's office or myself if you have additional questions, either by phone or via email, and we would do our best to assist you. Mike, I think that's a wrap in terms of questions. We don't have any additional questions in the chat box.
Perfect. Well, we'll also be doing this tomorrow as well. So it'll be done in Spanish and English. So if you wanted to join in one more time, or if you just have questions, can you go back to the
Yes.
information page with your name and the cities? If you have any questions, call us. You'll see that the application is extremely short. It should be very straightforward and easy to answer, but you can always call Manal, call the city. We're here to help you through this process. And like I said, to get 116 people, $10,000 so each. So, okay. Well, thank you all. Have a great Monday, and this will go live on Wednesday.
And as a reminder, everyone will be receiving a recording of this as well, along with the slides. So thank you.
Perfect. Have a great day.